About 2 years ago, I posted a video about getting my radiology degree recognized in Germany as an EU profession. To be precise, as a Kenyan living in Germany. And recently, this video has been getting a lot of questions. People are asking about salary, language requirements, Ausbildung, blocked accounts, and even studying medicine afterward. So today I'm answering the most common questions about working as a radiographer in Germany. If you're planning to move to Germany as a radiology technician or MTRA, then this video is going to save you a lot of confusion. So please make sure you watch until the end. One question I got a lot was, can I do Ausbildung for radiology technician in Germany? Yes, you can. In Germany, the radiographers are called the MTRA or MTR as of 2023, the medizinische technische Radiologie assistants. And for you to become a radiographer, it's mostly actually in Ausbildung compared to degree. It's rarely offered in degree. So yeah, you can do this course as an Ausbildung, and it takes 3 years. This is inclusive of theory and training, and mostly as an Ausbildung you will partially go to school and partially go to the clinical area. Like it's almost like 50-50, and most professionals from outside EU decide to redo this course in Germany as an Ausbildung if their non-EU radiology certificate is not recognized in Germany. Another common question I got about Anerkennung of MTRA in Germany is about the demand. Many people are asking if the demand of radiographer is a lot in Germany. Yes, generally the demand is a lot. Radiographers are still in demand in Germany, especially in hospitals and most radiologic center. And Germany has a high aging population, and most hospitals are looking for healthcare professionals. So the spots are still open. And by the way, in some areas, the demand of radiographers is more than other regions. For example, in the North-Westphalia, there is this agency called Med360, a recruiting agency. I think it's a recruiting agency or hospital kinda. And with this hospital, what they do, if you sign up with them, they can process your Anerkennung or help you with the recognition of your papers in Germany, but you have to work with them for 2 years before you move to another company. And the pay will be a little lower than the normal pay, because within this time you're working with them, they will have to deduct the money they helped you to process the papers. So yes, in short, the demand is still high. Do you need a specialist language exam? Someone asked if I had to take a specialist medical language exam before my recognition was approved. For radiographers, usually no Fachsprachprüfung exam is required, but since it is a medical course, most authorities will require you to have the B1 or B2 normal German certificate. In my case, from my state, it was B2. I needed to have B2 before the process was approved, but I could submit other documents in the meantime. Yeah, so German language level is required, but no special Fachsprach, no special Fachsprachprüfung. Working experience in Germany. Working in radiology department in Germany is quite structured. There is strong emphasis on protocols, teamwork with doctors and nurses, emphasis also on radiation safety. That is really something like to be admired. Then the machines are also well advanced. The other thing I noticed is that unlike in Kenya, to be precise, where radiographer is mostly an all-rounder, in Germany it's like more of being a specialist in a certain department. For example, like most ultrasound, almost like all ultrasounds are done by doctors, depending on which doctor you are visiting. A gynecologist will be doing the ultrasound. A pediatrician will have an ultrasound machine to do it themselves. Like a general practitioner will have their own ultrasound machine. And this goes also with something like radiotherapy. Like radiotherapy, unlike in Kenya where you need to earn a different degree or have a different certificate, here when you become a radiographer, you are also a radiotherapist, meaning it will be up to you to choose if you want to work like in nuclear medicine department or in radiotherapy department or with pediatrician. So that is something I found different and interesting for radiographers working in Germany. Another question was about radiology salary in Germany. Many people ask about their salary. For radiographers working in public hospital, the salary mostly follows the TVUD pay scale. The starting salary being between 2,500 euros to around 3,300 gross salary, and then with experience between 3,500 to about 4,500 plus, and not forgetting that this depends on a lot of things like the state you are, the experience, and then we have the additional things like the bonuses and nights. So this is just like base, but you know, depending on the region you are and inquiring around, you will always know how much salary is being paid and how you can argue your pay. Do you need a blocked account? Another question was about the blocked account with around 10,000 to 11,000 euro, I guess. This is usually required for student visa, but if you're coming to Germany for work or for recognition with a work contract, then the requirement will be different. And for that, I think it just depends with the company, the state, but of course accommodation I think must be important, and at least how you will survive at least for the first 3 months. But the 11,000 block account is not necessary if you're coming for work or an economic process. But I know the 11,000 euro blocked account is mostly for student visa, if I'm not wrong. Cost of completing missing training. Yeah, sometimes during the recognition process, the authorities may notice the difference between your degree or certificate and the German certificate or education. And when that happens, the authorities may ask you to complete an adaptation training, that is Anpassungslehrgang, or a knowledge exam, that is Kenntnisprüfung. In my case, they asked me for the Lehrgang. What I missed, they asked me for to complete practicals in nuclear medicine and radiotherapy, so whereby I had to find a hospital to do the missing clinical experience. And for my case, it was about 11 weeks that I needed to complete, and then after that is when you need to join the Lehrgang class, like the missing part, and then you will, after you complete the Lehrgang class, is when you earn your certificate and you can get your German license, German radiography license. Yeah, but I was not asked to do exam. By the way, if you don't want to go through the long process, you can opt to do the Kenntnisprüfung. Yeah, but the difference is that for radiographers, there is a lot of materials out there for you to see what has been tested, unlike the nurses. The nurses, if you're a nurse, there are a lot of materials out there and you can directly decide to do the Kenntnisprüfung. Yeah, so with that said, that will depend with what you're missing. Like for my case, I needed to do 11 weeks. So meaning, if you are coming and you're missing 11 weeks, you need to see where you will stay for 3 to 4 months, how you will be moving. So it depends. And it was free because I was doing it in a public hospital. If you decide to do the practicals in a private sector, then you will need to pay, and that will depend with the state and the duration. Can you study medicine later? Someone asked if you can work as a radiographer and then study medicine to become a doctor in Germany. Technically it is possible, but the admission to the medical school is really competitive and you will require C1 German level. So yeah, if you are determined, then you can do it. And medicine is also full-time, so which makes it difficult to combine it with full-time work and study. So that is the only difference, but technically it is possible if you want it. Documents needs embassy certification. Another question was whether the documents need to be signed by the German embassy. In many cases, what is required is notarized copies, certified translation in German. For my case, I needed to notarize the certificates and have my translation done, but there was a list of the people they would accept documents from. So if you are outside Germany, you can look at the embassy, which offices or bodies or groups they accept their notarized documents or their translation, because if you just translate from any place, they might not accept it. But again, requirements are different depending on the state. For me, it was from Bayern, and the requirements were quite crazy. Another question, is B1 enough? Sometimes authorities allow you to go with B1, but many hospitals prefer B2 German level to work in the clinical environment, because you are working with the locals. You really need to know the deeper version of Germans and the clinical medical terms, which you will get in an advanced level of German. But in my case, I was already required to provide B2 for the completion of the Anerkennung process. Why can't people find a bachelor radiology program? One person mentioned that they couldn't find bachelor's degree in radiology in Germany. This is because radiography in Germany is mostly taught as a vocational training program rather than a university degree. That's why it's so difficult for you to get it as a degree program. That's all. I hope this video helped answer most of your questions about working as a radiographer in Germany and the Anerkennung process in Germany. If you found this video helpful, make sure to leave more questions in the comment section. And if you're new here, my channel is mostly about lifestyle, travel, and my experiences abroad. So feel free to subscribe. Ciao!